from my heart and from my hand. Why don't people understand my intention?
Hey everybody, welcome to Too Much CGI. My name is Bill. I'm here, as always, my friend Scott. How are you doing, Scott?
Not too bad this week. How about yourself?
Do you like this song? You gotta love this song.
I don't know if I love this song. There's better Oingo Boingo songs out there. I mean, this is a good song. I wouldn't change the channel or hit skip or anything or whatever we do these days, but I don't know this is my favorite. But I do like the movie that it reminds me of. I mean, the movie that inspired it.
Do you know why I'm playing this?
I do. This is going to be part of our main topic later on.
I am a segue master.
You're segueing to about 30 minutes from now, so slow it down there, hotshot.
Well, luckily, we have plenty of other things to talk about. It's been kind of a slow week for me. I haven't really done much with media or pop culture. I heard about a couple celebrity deaths. You know, that's... Yeah. So we can start there. Who died this week?
Well, Jimmy Buffett passed away.
Jimmy Buffett. Were you a Jimmy Buffett fan?
Was I a Jimmy Buffett fan? I was not a parrot head. I'm not that hardcore into Jimmy Buffett. You have a couple of good songs? Yeah, good stuff to listen to when you're at the beach or at like a beach party or something like that. I mean, the man, gotta give him credit. He copyrighted a lifestyle, right?
Pretty much. Have you ever been a Jimmy Buffett fan who was a fan when they were sober? Like, you can't find anybody who actually enjoys this guy unless you're drunk. But when you're drunk and you're listening to Jimmy Buffett with a bunch of other, I forgot they were called parrot heads. When you're listening to, with a bunch of parrot heads singing, that's the greatest time in the world, man.
This really might be music to get drunk to. That may be what he should have called his best of album. I think he called it Songs You Know by Heart. And I actually listened to it quite a bit. I do know a lot of those songs by heart. He's not wrong. But I gotta tell you, songs to get drunk to would have been a lot more accurate.
Well, why not the song Let's Get Drunk and Screw?
That's just a good idea. That's just a good pickup line.
That's one of his big hits.
I mean, the big two, of course, Margaritaville and Cheeseburger in Paradise are the two main ones that probably everybody knows. Even if you didn't know who Jimmy Buffett was, you probably know these two songs. But
well, he also had the Margaritaville margarita maker that you and I both have and love. And I'm not even sure it's that good a margarita maker, but it's a really good, like, drunk Slurpee maker. Like just put alcohol into it, hit a button. It's something that's really good.
You can put anything into it and something slushy comes out of it and it gets the job done. And I think that simplicity of getting drunk is what Jimmy Buffett was all about.
You know what this is? This is like that thing that he put out there, this margarita maker. It's really just the 1980s Snoopy snow cone maker, but bigger.
You're absolutely right. It shaves the ice and then it mixes it. You have to put the syrup in. You're absolutely right. Yeah, but I mean, don't sell the man short. He not only had the blender, he has his own line of tequila. He has his own line of hotels and resorts. He has his own casino. I mean, this guy fucking does it all.
I was just going to say, I didn't know about those though, but I was just going to ask you about his restaurant. You think he made a good chunk of change off that?
I do. I've been there. Have you ever eaten at one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to the one down in Myrtle Beach a couple times.
Remember it being okay.
Yeah, it's like a TGI Fridays. People still wait in line, but it's not exactly a testament to how good it was. It's a testament to how stupid tourists are.
Yeah, I would always feel guilty going into any tourist trap when I was visiting. It's like, I don't want to go to the Hard Rock Cafe. I really don't. I don't want to be the tourist, but you know what? No other place to go. Let's go there. So that's how I ended up in any one of these different Margaritavilles. It would be on a vacation, and I'm just like, I know I don't really want to go to this one.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll go.
It really did fall into that category of Hard Rock Cafe and Planet Hollywood and House of Blues. It was just the Margaritaville Parrot Head version of that.
I was at one once where it had that event that you see in certain restaurants that are just trying to be something, where it rains in there, or it's
a hurricane.
The lightning starts going off.
Hurricane time.
All of a sudden there's a volcano.
Yeah. The giant 12-foot blender that starts mixing up. It's crazy.
When the volcano goes off and it gets dark, I'm like, damn it, I'm not getting my beer now. You got to wait till the show is over. That's not a good dining experience.
Yeah.
Well, another person died too. To be honest, I don't even know the guy's first name. but he is the singer of Smash Mouth. I thought he was Smash Mouth, so it goes to show how much I know about this band.
Somebody once told me. Yeah, that fucking guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he died. He was pretty young, too. He was like in his 50s, I think.
Ooh, I'm almost as young as him.
I mean, Jimmy Buffett was 76. That was pretty young for somebody to pass away, too, but they may have been some hard years of living.
That statement is always so strange to me. He's 76, and that's young.
Well, I mean...
People didn't used to live till they were like 76, and that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, but think about last week.
I love that you're saying it, because I'm going to be 76 in no time.
Yeah, but think about last week. We're talking about Bob Barker living until 99, and I know that that's the exception, but still, if we're comparing 76, 56, I mean, that's nothing compared to 99 with Bob Barker.
I think I want to go as long as I can until I can't control my own farts. Like, once I can't control that, I can't see any way I would ever want to be in public again, and then you could just put me on the iceberg and push me out to sea.
That's a good life goal.
Speaking of farts, did Smash Mouth have any other non-stinker songs? See, I tried to find a segue as the segue king.
I see what you did there.
Didn't play.
They did a few things, basically remakes. They remade I'm a Believer by the Monkees.
Was that in Shrek?
Yes.
Because I remember they had a second song with, okay,
yes,
it was a cover. Yeah, they were one hit wonder then.
Yeah, pretty much. They did another cover too. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. Not a big Smash Mouth fan. They had a song called Walking on the Sun too. Not a huge fan, but it got radio play. Remember it from college.
I kind of do remember it too. And it sounded exactly like All Star, so that's probably why we only remember them as a one hit wonder.
I often thought of Smash Mouth as a knockoff Sublime, like a poor man's Sublime.
Interesting.
It kind of got that same feel, right?
Maybe. I mean, it's really common for a record company to be like, "Hey, Pearl Jam's real big, Mr. Weiland. Can you try to sound a little like Pearl Jam?" Sure. Yeah, I'll do it. Or like Creed, and then all of a sudden it's Sister Mary Chain 11-3 or whatever, and now like all these bands suddenly sound exactly like Pearl Jam. Well, I don't think it's a mystery.
You're not wrong.
I think somebody says, take influence by this number one hit, making band and make us some money.
Well, tie these two together, these two recently deceased entertainers could also be on a mega infomercial song compilation of songs to get drunk to, because seeing as how I'm thinking of Smash Mouth as a college band, probably listened to them while I was drunk too.
Wow, they were your college band. Okay. Mine was like Gin Blossoms.
I wouldn't call them my college band. They were a band I listened to while in college. They were getting radio play while I was in college. But yeah, honestly, while I was in college, I was much more into like Jay-Z and Eminem and shit like that. But when you go out to the club, they play whatever. And I think Mr. Smash Mouth may have been one of them.
We're going to be in trouble as more of these one-hit wonders die. I could just totally see in like 3 months where we announced the death of one of the Freds from Right Said Fred.
There was only one Fred from Right Said Fred.
There's 2 Freds, I thought.
I don't think so. Well, based on the backlash I got from last week's show, I'm glad we're not putting money on who's going to die next.
Wait, why'd you get backlash?
Well, last week we talked about once upon a time, you and I, in our younger, more naive days, we have the ghoul pool going. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, the ghoul pool.
Well, this may jump ahead into fan mail here. Or, I don't know if they're fans, but I heard from 3-4 individuals. Some of them absolutely abhorred the idea of betting on someone's longevity. We were complete assholes. The other side of that coin, some people want in on the next round. So we have people who want to do a ghoul pool. We want to get back into that game. People want to get into it.
Oh, I want to dig deeper on the people who thought we were monsters. Are they regular listeners to us?
No. I was just told that.
Then how did they even find out?
Well, they listened.
Okay, so they could be listening to us right now?
They could be.
Ooh. What did they say, Scott? What did they say about my game?
One thing that you'll enjoy, I'm sure, is, shit like that today can get you canceled.
Yeah, I know. That is totally true.
So that was probably the most critical of opinions. But, yeah, other people were all for it.
Boy, that canceling thing is still out of control. Alice Cooper just got canceled. Did you hear
I
that?
think you told me about this off air. Yeah.
It's crazy. He's the nicest guy in the world. He got canceled for his Christian beliefs, basically.
Well,
Doesn't agree with somebody else, so cancel that person. It's so aggressive. It's such bullying. Don't cancel me for having a ghoul pool. We all had ghoul pools in the 90s.
I mean, why cancel it?
actually, I don't think many people knew about ghoul pools in the 90s, Bill.
Well, somebody taught me.
I learned from watching you.
I've heard people call it a death pool.
A death pool? Okay.
Yeah. So I clearly didn't invent this. Don't get mad at me. I'm only spreading the disease. I didn't start it. I'm not Wuhan.
Well, I'll throw this out there. I venture to say that people that gamble on sports, essentially you're rooting for one of the sports people to get injured. People that bet on NASCAR, they're betting that the guy that's supposed to win crashes out and some long shot from the back. Betting on horses, you're hoping that favored horse is going to break a leg and become Elmer's glue. It's all the same thing.
Shame. Shame.
Yeah, and whoever, told
Shame.
you that they don't like it, I got to tell them,
Shame.
whether we bet on a person dying or not, it doesn't actually cause them any death.
I still stand by the fact I think I got Bob Barker 15 extra years by drafting him.
Because you're a mush, everybody you pick,
I'm
they
such
dragged
a
on.
fucking mook when it comes to betting. There's no way in hell that he was going to die while that pool was still active. I was his guardian angel.
I'm trying to think of anyone I had. I probably had like Tony Randall, Merv Griffin. If you think about the time when we were playing it, Johnny Carson.
One of the people that were critical about it, I said to them, it's not like we're doing it right now. I mean, we were young. We were naive, Bill. We didn't know any better. Having said that, the odds on Britney Spears dying aren't very good for her right now.
Yeah, I totally play her right now.
Oh, I'd draft her in a heartbeat. She'd be top 5.
For the life of me, I can't remember. Somebody got one of the wild cards. I'll
tell you exactly who it was. It was Amy Winehouse. And somebody else got fucking the girl from Girl Interrupted, Brittany Murphy. And I think the same person got both of them. The league was over as soon as that happened.
Now, wait a minute. All right. They died of overdoses. This person must have known something about their habits because it wasn't published in the paper that they had cancer or something or old. Like betting on an old person is gross. Yeah. As a kid, you don't really know better, but we wouldn't do it now. But betting, on an old person was kind of
a safe bet,
hedging your bets because you were like, they're going to die. How did somebody ever assume Britney Spears or Amy Winehouse was going to die? I think they're murderers.
Well, I don't know. I think they only won like 3 bottles of liquor. That was all that the prize was for this.
Is that what it was?
I think so.
Boy, we were really
living on the edge.
We were really playing for some heavy stakes back then.
I think that's a good way to round out dead celebrities here, talking about people that we wagered alcohol on.
Well, to the 3 people who were offended, I hope you don't hold it against us. It's not something we would do now.
For the people that want in, stay tuned.
Meet us Saturday night at the old place. Whisper. Use the password. Too much CGI. Get a free pack of liquid IV while you do it.
Bring your Ouija board.
Oh, we have a mystery voice back there. Hey, everybody. Please meet Brother Dan, who is joining the show today for the main segment. Dan, you're a little early, so what if you join us for the next thing we were going to talk about? You interested?
Yeah.
If you said no, I'd kick you right the fuck out. All right, guys. What do you know about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie?
Which movie?
I've seen all of them. Big part of my childhood.
See, Dan's got it. Dan knows which movie we're talking about. Fair question, Scott. I keep forgetting they make these remakes because they're so damn forgettable. I'm talking about the Jim Henson one, the ones when we were kids. When's the last time you really thought about that movie?
I've seen that in the theater when I was like 8. I've probably seen it since. And then I've seen part 2. Never saw part 3. Saw some of the remakes that Nickelodeon was putting out. Haven't seen the newest one that's in theaters now. But the original Jim Henson one, yeah, I could probably talk about that. Why? What do you got?
I went down a rabbit hole. I didn't watch any of the movie. I watched YouTube videos about the movie, and I had no idea how much information is out there about this movie. And this was 4 or 5 hours of my weekend. And then I started taking notes. I was
You
like,
didn't watch the movie, but you watched videos about the movie. How millennial of you, Bill? I didn't play the video game, but I watch people play the video game.
on Twitch or whatever, right?
So how far back into the Ninja Turtles did you go? Because there was actually 3 original movies that went together as a series.
So this is going to be just about the first one. And there's a couple things here that I wrote down that maybe talk about the others lightly, maybe not. There's only about 10 or 12.
Okay.
10 or 12 very interesting observations and things that I learned watching people watch the Ninja Turtles movie. Number 1, the suits that these guys were wearing was 60 pounds
Damn.
each. You can tell. Next time you watch the movie, watch a turtle try to kick in a 60-pound fucking suit.
Not good.
Oh, it's so funny. Once you see how tired these guys are, you start to realize like they're barely able to throw their fucking legs around.
I'll give him this credit, though.
60
It
pounds.
was not CGI. This was all practical, heavy-ass practical effects.
They showed a lot of how the masks were made, and holy shit, like I forgot how good they were. They were really well done.
Yeah.
They were incredibly well done. And it was, it was like the Jabba the Hutt puppet. Like there was a lot of people sort of controlling. So you couldn't just put this thing on and go dick around. Like you really had to get your blocking right, get your steps right, and really understand. It's interesting to me because I fall right. Did I ever tell you about the time I dressed up as Barney,
No.
the purple dinosaur?
Never.
See, we're going right off the rails again. So when I was a 16-year-old, I worked at a fast food restaurant. Don't start laughing or I'll start laughing. I worked at a fast food restaurant called Roy Rodgers, which was small, but around here in the East Coast. And, kid at 16 will do anything to get off the grill. So the manager said, does anybody want to dress up as Barney? We're having a party here. We're trying something new. We're going to get a Barney suit. I said, I'll do it. So I almost said the shit shows up because it was shit. It came with holes in it. It was stinky. And it turns out it wasn't even Barney. It was, quote, your favorite purple dinosaur. Okay? So you know what's going on here now.
The dollar store version of Barney.
They got the shit version of Barney. So I'm putting this thing on, and I'm already an awkward kid at 16. Try walking in a 60-pound Barney suit. I felt like one of the Ninja Turtles. So as I'm lumbering around and all these little kids are beyond excited to see me, I'm knocking them down with my big-ass purple tail. Like, I'm just taking them down, and I have no idea. I'm smacking tables and chairs, and because of this big dumb head, I can't hear that I'm doing any of it. So one of the bosses had to come out. Oh, we need to take Barney back for a minute. We'll bring him right back out. Yeah, I'm like, well, Barney looks fucking plastered. He's fucking drunk.
You just fucking Godzilla'd those kids.
I fucking traumatized a lot of them. They were asking questions. How'd you get here? And I used to have an old red Mazda pickup truck, and I pointed out to that in the parking lot. You drive a red truck? I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Like, I tried to do the Mickey Mouse thing where I didn't actually talk. I just kind of pointed.
Sure.
And that freaked everybody out because they're like, you got a voice. We're here to hear you. And I'm like, well, that wasn't I'm not getting paid for that. Anyway, going back to the Ninja Turtles. So I feel their pain trying to do karate in these giant things. There is a scene where you see Raphael, whatever you pronounce his name, where he's got like a trash can on his head and he pulls it off and you can see that he's like kind of injured. You wouldn't remember it, but when you see this scene, the guy in the suit really broke his nose and he's in massive pain and he's trying to get this mother effing, turtle costume off his face because he's got a broken nose. And they left it in because Raphael looked like he was injured. So he's like, ouch, ouch. Meanwhile, it's the guy dying to get this thing off because he broke his nose. And you could watch that happen. I think that's fun. They had a guy that was going to direct this thing. His last name was Barron. Barron was fired before the production wrap because he was really interested in making this like a violent, like a really edgy, gritty type of movie like the original comic was.
Yeah.
But the studio, they're like, no, we want to sell this to kids. So it was one of those movies where there was, constant fights and eventually Barron was just like gone. Right. So if you watch the movie, there's certain scenes where, like, do you remember the Foot Clan? The one kid knocks the other kid out and he goes, he'll be okay.
Yeah. I remember that.
Well, in the original movie, they knock him out and kill him.
Oh.
So they have to, at the last minute, add an overdub going, he'll be okay. One of those kind of things. So if you watch the movie now, knowing that most of that stuff was meant to stay violent, you can kind of tell what's originally shot by this first director and what's been, pieced together by subsequent producers and directors.
That would have been an interesting take. It really would have showed like how expendable the Foot Clan guys actually were.
It says Sally Menke, the Quentin Tarantino editor, was also fired because she made it too violent. So, yeah, they had a couple people on the project who were like, let's kill people with this.
Could you imagine like a Dark Knight take on Ninja Turtles?
I was thinking like a Kill Bill version of Ninja Turtles. I'd be all for that.
Well, I like that you said that. So, do you know how the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came to be? They're a parody of something. Do you know what they're goofing on?
No.
I don't know.
So, Teenage is Teen Titans. Mutant is X-Men. Ninja is Daredevil. And Turtles was a riff on Howard the Duck. So, the two guys that made the Ninja Turtles, Eastman and Laird, they're fucking around one day and they're like, yeah, wouldn't it be funny if like we took all these concepts, put this together, and they started drawing the turtles, passing it back and forth, and they're like, hey, this has legs. Maybe we ought to keep going.
It was just a riff on everything that Marvel was doing that was selling comics.
Yeah. So when the rat's name is Splinter, Daredevil's ninja master is Stick.
Right.
I don't know if you know that. So Stick and Splinter. So that's just more ways how they were kind of parodying comics.
Interesting. I had no idea.
Thought this one would make you awfully happy, Scott. The Foot Hideout. You remember the Foot Hideout?
In the movie, yes, I do.
It was an abandoned cement factory. It was also the scene of one of the giant action scenes in The Crow. But even better.
That's where Brandon Lee got shot and killed?
No, actually, maybe it is. That's interesting. I didn't think of that. I'm going to have to do some more research. It's where they filmed the Mario Brothers world. This is the world. Yeah, this is the world.
It sound like Wazambo Bob Hoskins Mario?
Yeah.
Nice.
Same as the Foot Clan's hideout. I guess it's I don't know, an abandoned cement factory in LA.
They make any good movies in there?
I love The Crow. You didn't like The Crow?
I did. I'm kidding. Yes.
When they were first originally making the movie, they wanted the Turtles to be cartoons. Like, they wanted to do the Roger Rabbit thing.
Oh, could you imagine? That would be off-putting.
That would be weird. And then they eventually reached out to Henson, and Henson said, oh, yeah, I'll do it. Great. It's the last movie Jim Henson made.
Really?
It's the last movie Jim Henson made. And it turns out he wasn't very happy with it because he didn't like the violence on it.
Oh, that makes sense. I bet you I know who would have really liked animated Turtles, though. Those four guys wearing 60-pound turtle costumes over 60 days of shooting.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember Corey Feldman was one of the voices?
Yeah.
That always made me think that Corey Feldman was one of the turtles. I was like, that's awesome. He wore one of the turtle costumes. Nope. All right, just a couple more. Oh, I like that there was a kid smoking a cigar. Talk about shit you can't do today.
Was that one of the Foot Clan guys?
Yeah. One of the little
that.
kids is chopping on a cigar.
Well, one of the things that the Foot Clan was doing in the hideout, they were like stealing and reselling cigarettes. They had like giant cartons of cigarettes, if I recall correctly.
They had their little skate park and their little teenage hangout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arcade games were in there.
Before King Koopa ruled it all there.
Dennis Hopper.
Actually, what came first, Super Mario or Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, Super Mario was 1989. So when did this Turtles come out? 91?
Yeah, I think it would be after, yeah.
You're talking about the Super Mario where they had like Koopas wearing leather jackets and boots and...
That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah, little shrunken heads for some reason.
They like stick to the ground with these special shoes.
You know it.
I like this one. The woman who played April O'Neil apparently was impossible to work with. Apparently a total asshole. I always like when they're total assholes and they don't get invited back to the next one. So that's why she wasn't in part 2. They didn't like her.
They thought they'd fix that in the new ones by having Megan Fox be April O'Neil, because that's a definite easy person to work with.
Oh, that's who plays April O'Neil in the new Turtle movie reboot?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, what's his name about her? The Transformers guy. They could not get along. And then they worked it out. They're friends now, I hear. How do I know that? You know you're reading too much fucking nonsense on the internet when you know that. What's that guy's name?
Michael Bay.
When Michael Bay and I
Fox?
always called her Samantha Fox.
Jesus.
I'm fucking everything up. Can't remember anybody's name. You know, it's a slow news day when you hear shit about them together. And the last thing I have here, they crushed Shredder in a garbage truck? What a fucking death.
Yeah.
What a death.
I wonder if that was left over from Barron, the first director, or if that was what they rewrote in. Maybe he had something even worse planned.
He didn't even get crushed by one of the actual main characters of the movie, the Turtles or anything. It was that Casey Jones guy just like hits the lever on the garbage truck. So not only do you unceremoniously get smashed in a garbage truck, it's a B-rate character taking you out.
Yeah, he just walks up and he goes, whoops. Like, what a line. And, hit that switch for that garbage truck that somebody left unattended.
Don't feel bad for Shredder. He comes back as Super Shredder in part 2. Takes down the whole dock.
Yeah. Well, this weekend I'm going to go down the rabbit hole and learn all about part 2, the secret of the ooze, and I'll have something to report back. I got to give you great details like Vanilla Ice doing ninja rap.
Go ninja, go ninja, go. Wait till you get to part 3. Take a visit to the Far East.
Part 3, I don't remember 3 at all.
Yeah, they went back to like medieval Japan, like shoguns.
If I could ever go back in time to one concert, it would be the Vanilla Ice Ninja Turtles concert.
Do you remember after this first movie, the Ninja Turtles actually went on tour? It was actually an album that was released at, I want to say, Pizza Hut, that had on the soundtrack of the movie. April O'Neil had a song. Raphael had a song. It was like actual produced music, and they actually took it on tour.
Wow.
That whole stage show, they would tour in costume. It was a whole fucking thing.
You know how movies always get parodied in porn? You think they ever made a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles porn?
I don't know, but I would say the odds are probably higher for yes than for no.
Yeah, you know what? I totally agree. Guarantee. Somebody go look for us. Right in. Go to Too Much CGI on Twitter. You can tell us what you found. You can go to toomuchcgi.com. You can send us an email. Let us know what you'd like to hear. Go on over and tell us what you want.
Inside the shell.
Inside the shell. I'll tell you what, if it wasn't live action, it was definitely animated. There was some anime fuck out there drawing this stuff.
All right. Well, what do you think we move on to our main segment? Dan's been hanging out. He's kind of chimed in a little bit there. I want to hear more from Dan. Brother Dan. Is this your first podcast, dude?
This is.
It's going to be your last. If you don't start saying something.
I'm waiting to hear what we're talking about. What's the topic? Let's go.
Y'all may remember Brother Dan, as he's the one that wanted us to talk about racing movies, and you sent us that clunker of an idea, and we riffed on it for a little bit, but Dan actually came through with a good one this time. He came up with the idea, why don't we talk about inventors in movies? And I took this idea and I put together some actual good deep dives here, I feel, of people that were inventors in movies. And then when we invited him on the show, it turns out what he pitched me was actually a completely different idea about inventions that came from movies, with which we came up with the Home Alone 2 Talk Boy and not much more. So Dan, he's been a part of the show here in the past, not actually on the show, but he used to work with Bill and I at our previous employer that we bitched about on here many a times before. And he also lived to tell the story. So welcome aboard, Dan. And with this being your topic, I hope you have a lot to chime in about.
Let's get started.
All right. So again, inventors in movies. Now, I did some pretty obvious, and then I did some deeper dives. I don't know if I tread on any of your ideas here, Dan, but in my mind, when it comes to inventors in movies, number one goes right to Doc Brown from Back to the Future. And needless to say, he invented a time machine from a DeLorean?
And a locomotive. Don't forget about episode 3.
And locomotive in the third installment for sure. But yeah, Doc Brown invented all kinds of stuff. Actually, what Doc Brown invented was the flux capacitor.
I'm still waiting for a hoverboard. It's 2023. Where's my hoverboard at?
Oh, yeah, we talked about
That's
that.
a good point.
That was definitely one of the things the movies got wrong, for sure. But Bill, you said there is something out there in the market that they're working on as far as a hoverboard, right?
There's always something they're working on in that world. But yeah, what I had said actually was they put out a product that could kind of float, and I actually looked more into that. Yeah, that didn't go very far. I don't think that was one that they released. So if you remember me saying that many episodes ago, I think that had a very quick demise. Too dangerous. But let me ask you this. Doc Brown was your first pick. That's a good pick. And you you picked him because what? Because he invented the most iconic plot device in movies so that you really can remember this movie and him because the whole movie is about his discovery.
I picked him as number one because Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies, but also, yeah, his invention actually made the rest of the movie possible. It wasn't just like a throwaway plot device on the back end, like some of these other people I have on here. Much like another one that I have coming up, his device, his invention actually was what made the time travel possible. It made the rest of the entire story come to be.
How many gigawatts did it need?
1.21 gigawatts, which was actually a mispronunciation by Christopher Lloyd. It's actually gigawatts in the script, and he just said it wrong, which I think gigawatts is funnier.
I've been to Doc Brown's house.
Yeah.
It's it's not a real house. It's kind of like a carriage house type of thing. It's a public building, and it's a gorgeous building. But, it was just a tight shot on that front area. It made it look like a house, made it look like a big house.
I love how he answers the door with like the giant thing on his head, like the dodecahedron thing. It's like lighting up. And
yeah, it's great. Everything's great about that movie.
Oh, man.
For me, that's a movie where it's like, I'm kind of contradicting myself because I don't love movies where they expect you to go with it when things are just too stupid. But time travel's not real, right? It's probably pretty stupid in the scheme of things, that are real. I went with it, no problem. The rules of time travel don't seem to apply in this movie. Not that there's real rules because there's not real time travel.
Well, they apply when they want them to. Like the picture will fade, but there's no immediate reaction for shit they do in the past. There's no butterfly effect going on here. But yeah, I mean, suspension of disbelief is a real thing in all movies, Bill. Especially when you're not watching like, Pearl Harbor and even there's suspension of disbelief in the movie world. So yeah, the movies you avoid where there is reality in them, the movies you prefer, you have to live on suspension of disbelief.
Right, I agree. But my point is, it's so unbelievable and impossible to believe. But because the movie's so good, it gets a pass. And it's one of my favorites. I think Back to the Future is one of my top 5 favorite movies. I think it's brilliant.
Definitely.
But it's not accurate.
All right, Dan, you got anything you want to throw into the mix here?
I mean, the easy layup slam dunk got to be Iron Man, Tony Stark.
Yeah.
I mean, entire franchise based off of his inventions and his equipment and science and everything else.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
Yeah, I would say that much like Doc Brown, without Tony Stark inventing the Iron Man and the arc reactor, that movie doesn't happen. He dies in a cave over in the Middle East.
Yeah, I think that one's just pretty much the out in the open easy pick.
Yeah.
Bill could have came up with that one on his own.
Number 2 for me, again, not because his inventions had as much to do with the movie as much as I just like this movie. Data from Goonies. He was always inventing stuff. He had such hits as oil slick shoes, the chatter teeth grappling hook, and the boxing glove belt. None of which were really integral to the movie, but they did add some comic relief, as did his character throughout. So his one-liners, his inventions, whether they worked, whether they didn't work, it was certainly used to punch up the movie's comedic value.
The teeth grappling hook, I remember, but didn't he have another thing that stuck to glass? I feel like he shot something else, too.
Probably. So he used like the zip line to get from his house into Mikey and Brand's house, but I don't know about anything stuck to glass. It's been a while, though.
Yeah, it's been a while. I might be mixing movies for all I know. I love that Dade is getting I don't even know his real name. I love that he's getting movie roles.
His name is Kiwi Kwan.
I saw him in that Everything Everywhere at Once, or whatever it is.
Yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
And now he's in Loki. He's in the new Loki show.
He's winning awards left and right. All right, what do you got, Dan?
So kind of along that same vein as like Goonies and things, you have like Kid, Inventor / what about Kevin McAllister? What about Home Alone?
I would challenge that. Did he actually invent anything, or did he just take household items to maim and kill people?
Some of the ways he put things together was pretty creative. Flamethrower tied to the door that, sets the guy's head on fire. Redoing some of the The feathers and the fan in the dining room.
I would say he was a good arranger of like a Rube Goldberg type machine, but not a creator, not an inventor. That's my challenge.
Yeah, and I'm going with Scott. I mean, if he's an inventor, then the Ewoks were inventors when they were taking out the Empire, walking through the woods.
Giant logs.
Giant logs, nets, all that.
All right. Well, my number 3 here is a definite inventor, and his invention definitely had large impact on his movie. Dr. Wayne Zelinsky, played by good old Rick Moranis in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He invented a shrink ray, and in part 2, a jumbo ray. Guess what he did with it?
Blew up the kids.
Blew up the kids and shrunk the kids. Kids are always getting in the way. See why he has to be all over this guy's ass. This was a big movie. This came out back when I was, probably like 92?
I remember in the early 90s, they created a theme park at Disney World or Universal Studios from this. And there was giant ants and giant like pieces of grass.
It was a giant play place at MGM Studios. Yeah. Which is why I think it was like 92. And then now they took it out. And now that whole area is actually part of Batu, Black Spire Outpost for Star Wars Land.
Did not know that.
When my son was 5, he ran into that thing and outran me. This Honey, I Shrunk the Kids playground. I couldn't find the kid. I mean, he was so well hidden in there and he thought it was funny. And I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, I lost my kid in Disney World. I just got divorced and I've already lost my kid. So I had to get somebody to go find him. And there were 3, young workers who had to search every nook and cranny. And I think they found him in an acorn.
This is why Bill has anxiety. Honey, I Lost the Kids, part 4.
Yeah.
A new show sponsor, Lexapro, for when your anxiety is out of control. Lexapro.
But yeah, I mean, without his shrink ray, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, this would have been Honey, the Kids.
Right. I think I was just too old for that. Like, that's at that point where I was like, nah, it's probably funny, but that looks like a kid's thing. I'm not going to watch that. So I'm not even sure I've ever seen any of those.
How do you feel about Flubber?
Never seen Flubber.
Robin Williams?
Yeah. You know what? As we do this show, the more we do it, the more it occurs to me that Robin Williams has a hell of a lot more content than I realize because A, I forget everything he's done, and B, I'm always amazed by things he's done that I never heard of. But yeah, I never saw Flubber.
So I would say Flubber is too much CGI because it's like really early bad CGI that didn't age well. But Flubber is actually a remake of The Absent-Minded Professor with Jerry Lewis, where he invented Flubber, which Flubber in this movie basically bounced around a whole lot, I think, with Robin Williams, right?
Yep.
In The Absent-Minded Professor, it could fly. It just defied gravity. It defied physics.
Robin Williams had the Flubber in his car, part of the movie, but it wasn't a mainstay in the movie.
Oh.
It was more of the bouncing effect. But there was a small flying scene with his car.
Okay. He had a robot assistant in that movie, too, called, like, Weebo or something. Is that right?
Yep.
That was really annoying.
Yeah.
That's all I remember. But he was an inventor. He did invent the Flubber. You're absolutely right.
I seem to remember this came out, too, like right after the big CGI breakthrough of Terminator 2. It's like as soon as that came out, everyone was like, hey, we got to get a piece of the CGI in our thing. And it started to really drive the plot of movies like Flubber. Now we can do these things that we couldn't do before with CGI. Not always well, but people were more ambitious after Terminator 2.
The auto-tune of the 90s. Everybody wanted it.
It's very true.
That's good, yeah.
That is very true. Yeah, I remember the Flubber had like a personality too. Like it would like dance when it played music. But I remember Flubber dancing. That was the other thing I remember. I remember that. And I remember the annoying robot assistant. Here's one. This one is a background inventor. It had nothing to do with the plot of the movie. Maybe it came around. In the movie Holes with Shia LaBeouf, good old Henry Winkler played his father, Stanley Yelnats III, and he was an inventor trying to invent a product that would stop sneakers from smelling. And come the end of the movie, he struggled the entire time. Their house was full of stinky shoes. Come the end of the movie, he ended up with Sweet Feet, which was then endorsed by the celebrity baseball player who his kid was wrongly accused of stealing sneakers from earlier in the movie, which got him sent to basically a slave labor camp out in the middle of the desert.
I've never seen this one. This is Holes?
Holes.
Holes was one of my all-time favorite books as a kid. Not a big fan of the movie, though. Not a fan of, the portrayal of the book to movie form. Not one of my favorites.
Right. But he was nonetheless an inventor. My son did just read the book last year for school. So, yeah, I have heard that the book is better, but I only know it from the movie, and he came to mind when I was compiling this list here. All right, what do you got next?
My last one is off the beaten path a little bit. It's a kids theme again. How about Robots? The movie Robots. Pixar.
That was another Robin Williams. Oh, no, that was Ewan McGregor, wasn't it?
Don't remember the character who did the voiceover, but the main character, he's a not poor but not well off robot, and he's finishing school, heading out to the big city, the big robot metropolis to take on the world, and he ends up fixing a bunch of robots that can't afford new parts.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's a couple inventions. He invented a small flying dishwashing helper to help his dad out, his dad was a dishwashing robot. But there's a bunch of different robot themed devices and gadgets along with that. It wasn't a mainstream movie. It was, not, top 2 or 3 in movies in theater, but it's kind of held its place. It was being reshown years after.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor did the voice. Bill, I think I saw this movie at your house the first time.
That's what I was going to chime in. That was played quite a bit. My kid liked it.
Yeah.
He played it often. And I remember, too, it wasn't a hit. I think it was like a DreamWorks. I don't even think it was a Pixar. Somebody said Pixar.
It was a DreamWorks production. That's right, yeah.
But the thing that was cool about it is DreamWorks was dominating. So, maybe Shrek had already been along and showed that, hey, DreamWorks can be taken down. And then this company, which maybe is the same, thinking about it, didn't DreamWorks make Shrek?
DreamWorks made Shrek,
but like this, so all of a sudden there's like a new player in this kind of CGI thing. And this movie was good. Didn't do well, but it could have. And maybe it should have because it was pretty clever.
It was interesting that the robot himself was the inventor because he could make himself better. He could improve himself. He could improve those around him. Yeah, definitely a good pick. I have 2 more. My next one, we'll keep it with the kids line of things here. I have Flint Lockwood from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, voiced by Bill Hader. He invented the weather food machine, which would turn water into food, anything he wanted, and hilarity ensues. His whole little tiny island home gets overtaken by hamburger spiders, and Mr. T's there, and crazy weather girl voiced by Anna Faris, and it was a good, well-cast show. What's his name? Andy Samberg was there as Baby Brent, which was like a child actor kind of character. It was a good time.
I thought you said there was a Bill Hader. I was like, what did I do?
No, Bill Hader, not Bill Hader.
And then I put it together. Bill Hader. He's funny.
He's a funny guy.
But where's he been?
I don't know what he's up to.
Haven't seen much of him lately.
Oh.
I know he's got that show Barry, but I don't. It looked serious, so I didn't go to it.
It's a good show. Yeah. Him and Henry Winkler.
Boy, the Fonz really had a great career after Happy Days, if you think about it.
Typecast be damned.
Yeah. He's in a lot of shit.
Mr. Coach Khan. Mr. Coach Khan.
That's right. He was on Waterboy and everything. My last one here, and I had some honorable mentions. Dr. Frankenstein. Tony Stark was one of my honorable mentions, but the last one, and Bill, I think this one is one that's going to mean a lot to you. A lot like Frankenstein, we had Wyatt and Gary from Weird Science. They, of course, invented Lisa, the world's most perfect woman. So the original AI.
And that's why we were playing some Weird Science early on. See?
That's right.
Master of segues. Master of segues. I loved that movie. I also didn't know it was a John Hughes movie. So I was aware of John Hughes doing, teenage movies, right? Breakfast Club and all those things.
Pretty in Pink.
But he hadn't done special effects or anything, sci-fi before. So it just never occurred to me that was him. And I found that out later. I was like, what? But it makes sense if you think about the cast of it, too. Because didn't he always like Robert Downey Jr.? He was in that.
Robert Downey Jr. was in there. Bill Paxton was in there.
I'm Bill Paxton. And of course, what's his name? The main kid who looks totally different.
Michael Anthony Hall. Yeah.
You ever see him now compared to when he was a kid? Like,
No.
I know we all grow up. I know we all change. But he looks so different. I could never tell that was the same kid. Look him up. He was just in one of the last Halloween movies.
Really?
Yeah.
'Cause I think his IMDb photo is still him as a kid.
Is it really?
I think so.
I had 2 honorable mentions before we forget them. The movie Twister, actually, since Bill just said that word.
Don Bill Paxton. I got to do it twice.
He invented the machine Dorothy to track the rotation of the tornadoes.
Yeah.
Ended up rigging the cells up with a bunch of soda cans to make it actually work. But I think the tornado is actually the main character of the movie. Like, that's what everyone remembers, the tornadoes and the destruction. And then the dad from Beauty and the Beast, the original inventor of Disney.
Crazy old Maurice. Crazy old Maurice. Eh? Yeah, he was an inventor.
Got a wood chopping machine. He had, different gadgets going on, but he wasn't the main character. He wasn't, the main player. People don't remember him, so couldn't really call him out as like a main movie inventor.
Well, if he didn't get taken by the beast, Bell never would have went in there, so we wouldn't have had a movie. But it had nothing to do with his inventions, really. But yeah, good call. Look, good honorable mentions there. All right.
Although the wood chopping machine did free him from the house, chopped right through that basement door, and
sure did.
How about Q from the James Bond movies?
Yeah, that seemed too low hanging fruit. I feel like Q's whole job was
too on the nose.
Yeah, I feel like he was an inventor. He was just government. He's the man.
I'll let you win this argument.
I feel like Q's whole thing was he would like take an everyday thing and add something else to it. Like, it's a watch, but it's also a laser. But he just put the two things together. He didn't really invent the laser. He really didn't invent the watch. He just, it's a car and it has a gun. But he, this is almost like Kevin McAllister. Q was Kevin McAllister in the James Bond world. He just created things and put existing things together to kill people.
How about Rick from Rick and Morty?
Rick's definitely an inventor, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Rick heavily inspired by Doc Brown. Morty heavily inspired by Marty McFly.
I heard that once. I don't know if that's true. Was it really based on them too?
The original was actually like a cartoon sequel to Back to the Future. And it was actually
really?
Doc and Marty. Yeah, for sure. It's out there. You can find it.
I've always thought that's just lazy writing. Hey, yeah, what's up? We should do a cartoon. What do you want to do it on? Look what's on TV. It's a rerun of Back to the Future. Why don't we just make a Rick and Morty character out of Doc and Marty?
There you go.
Done.
It writes itself.
How about the old guy from iRobot? Created the alien or the robot regime of the future. Will Smith finds one that commits murder.
Oh, yeah. You could say Blade Runner, the same deal with that company that created the...
Well, you could take that even further without even saying who they are, because now that you mentioned it, that's like a big trope.
Yeah.
Evil company invents a thing that's bad.
Sure.
Yeah. Lots of inventors who are evil. Remember the Facebook movie? Zuckerberg.
Created something evil. You're absolutely right.
There's your inventor.
Michael Keaton in Batman. His only superpower is intellect and inventing. So he'd be a good honorable mention.
One of the things I was thinking as you were talking, Lucius Fox from the Batman world he's an inventor, isn't he? Like, he's the one who really invents all the stuff that Batman uses.
Again, though, he was just like taking like existing military armor and military cars and repurposing them for Batman. I don't know that he invented.
Same Q argument, huh?
It's the Q argument.
He's creating them for spelunking.
Yeah, exactly. Good cover. All right, man. Well, that's what I got as far as inventors in movies. I'm sure there's others out there, but these were the ones from the movies that meant the most to me.
Not bad, and no cheating. You didn't do any Googling. These all came from your heads.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't believe what Dan remembered. How about that guy from iRobot? How about iRobot? Who remembers iRobot?
I didn't know what iRobot was until you said Will Smith, and I was like, oh, yeah, that too much CGI thing.
I remember liking that movie, actually.
I love that this is 2 weeks in a row we mentioned a Will Smith movie. Last week was Wild Wild West, and now this week it's iRobot.
We're bringing them back.
Inventions, Wild Wild West.
Horrible movie.
The giant spider that just climbed out of the Grand Canyon.
There was a whole story on that last week.
Just dropped today on YouTube. Go listen to it. You get caught up and learn all about that giant spider, Dan. All right. Well, thanks, Dan, so much. It was great having you. Get the fuck out. How about we do some news? Well, as usual, lots of news about the strike. Thought this was interesting. We're always talking about one side. Let's talk about the other side. Just a little bit about the other side. Barry Diller weighs in from his yacht on strikes, urging media companies to get out of the room with Netflix and other tech giants and hammer out a separate deal. This comes from Deadline. And if you don't know what side this writer is on, just let me reread the title. Barry Diller weighs in from his yacht. This is my problem, all right? I'm not picking a side, but let's not write headlines like this, okay? This isn't even a headline at this point. This is the entire fucking article. At least that's what people are going to think when they read this, and they're not going to read the rest of the article. It's driving me nuts, this new trend. Thank you for allowing me to express that. Barry Diller, a longtime media bigwig, recently shared his thoughts from his yacht. Even AI wanted to tell me that with to say I'm sorry. He wanted to share his thoughts from his yacht on the ongoing writers and actors strike. He urged media companies to distance themselves from tech giants like Netflix, Apple, and Amazon. Diller's main point was these tech giants have different business models and shouldn't be in the same negotiation room as producers. He emphasized that producers have historically been in business with these media companies for a century and should be seen as allies, not adversaries. I was like, that's an interesting different view. Diller also commented on the internal challenges facing members of the AMTP, noting the difficulty in aligning their varying business models and objectives during these negotiations because, these two are just not on the same page at all. And that's where they're having the most problems finding a resolution. Their goals are different.
Right.
Furthermore, Diller pointed out that Netflix has been a major disruptor in the entertainment industry. He believes that Netflix's influence led many companies to invest heavily in streaming, even at the expense of their cable broadcasting investments. That goes on, blah, 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 blah. Basically, Diller still believes in network TV, so he just might be this old-fashioned guy. But since he's a bigwig in the industry, he's got some credibility. He's lived in this, and he sees, the problem being that media companies, content companies, people who were making this stuff went to play with the streamers and should have stayed playing with the movie theaters, should have been playing with, the old-fashioned way.
How much of that, though, do you think was influenced or brought about out of necessity due to COVID? They had to go to the streamers.
Okay, I like where your head's at. This made me start thinking about that PR thing we read the other day.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of thing that they'll plant. They'll get somebody who's a big shot. They'll have them speak somewhere. They'll summarize it, and we'll read it on our podcast. So, yeah, this really just might be trying to turn the tide. Because I got a story later about how bad it's looking right now for the studios.
Yeah, but not with a headline like that are we going to read it and think, oh, let's listen to this guy. Quiet, everyone. A man on a yacht is talking.
Oh, my God. I know. Could you imagine the old days you ever see a headline? Ronald Reagan addresses the country from his yacht. Like you could just hear it in the headline. I like this story from Variety. We talked about, maybe it was last episode or the one before, about how producers tend to, get involved. They're the money men. They're not the creative men. So I always like a story when a producer has gone too far. So from Variety, Terminator producer says James Cameron cut key scene after financiers forced him to cast their friends in it. That ruined it for us, says Variety. Gail Ann Hurd, the producer of The Terminator, so we're talking about the first one, the very first one, spilled some tea on X/Twitter. We're still not sure what to call this thing. She said James Cameron had to cut a significant scene from the iconic 1984 action flick. Why? Because the financiers made him cast their buddies in it. This scene was all about giving the audience some backstory on how Cyberdyne Systems got their hand on the tech chip that powers the Terminators. The money guy behind the film, John Daly of Hemdale Films, he was one of the money guys. And they thought that because they weren't going to get a great ROI in this film, they totally thought it was a bomb. The belief is that the producers wanted to push the friends in to at least give them a little bit of ROI on the money that they put in. So it's like, hey, we're not so sure this is going to be a hit, but we'll put you in the movie. So basically, James Cameron said, they're terrible actors. This scene sucks. It's a pivotal scene that explains a lot of shit that today we still don't know because this scene never was made because the producer, So James said, no, it's not good enough. The acting was not good enough. The scene's not going to make it. So we still to this day do not know some of the things that we were supposed to learn about the Terminators.
Talk about a big company that made evil things. And that trope, I mean, that's some inventors right there. Cyberdyne Systems, they made Skynet. Ruined everything.
There you go. I like as we talk more about AI and generative AI, and everyone's like, it's Skynet. But then you kind of look at them again, and you like look deep into their soul. You know they believe it. Here's something from Cinema Blend. As Marvel's VFX staff seeks to unionize, employees make claims about how company has become the McDonald's of content. You kind of talked about this recently.
You see, now I'm on lettuce, but in a few years, I'm going to move up to the grill. And that's when the big bucks start rolling in.
I love it. Hollywood's in a bit of a shakeup right now. With the SAG-AFTRA actors and WGA writers on strike, the VFX crew at the Marvel Studios is also looking for some changes. They're trying to unionize, and some of them have been pretty vocal about their experiences working for Marvel. One person even said that the way things are going, Marvel's becoming the McDonald's of content. Over 50 VFX pros from Marvel are trying to get representation from the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. This union represents a ton of tech workers and craftspeople in the industry. What they want? Better pay, more reasonable hours, and other perks.
Seems fair.
Mark Patch of the IATSA mentioned that the Hollywood strikes were a big push for them to ask for better working conditions. With Disney Plus pumping out a ton of Marvel content since 2021, the workload has been intense. For example, Phase 4 of the MCU has a total of 60 hours runtime, which is more than the first 3 phases combined.
Wow.
Gabrielle Levesque, who worked on some big MCU titles, said that the work feels more like a conveyor belt now. Projects are rushed, and there's not as much care put into each one. So now we're getting what we've been saying, we've heard, we're getting it now from insiders.
Yeah.
And the VFX teams have been pushed so much, they want to unionize now. They're inspired.
And it's not a surprise. I mean, the product that was coming out showed what they're now admitting to. Like, this is not shocking news to me. This is something we've been seeing for the past 5 years.
What I don't understand, and I don't totally understand the industry like these guys do, they're in it, but the Marvel VFX people want to unionize? What about all the VFX people and all the different agencies all through LA and all through the country? Do they want to unionize too?
Every revolution starts with one war, right?
I guess. And when they say Marvel's VFX, is that Marvel's agencies that they use, or does Marvel also employ CGI
I don't know.
creatives?
That's a good question.
I'm assuming they do then. Yeah. I'm assuming it's the in-house team that wants to unionize. So if that's true, how long till the outside CGI guys unionize?
That first domino falls. If that happens and they get better work conditions, and it sounds like some pretty basic things they're asking for, if that first domino falls, it's not going to be long before the entire industry is doing the exact same strike that we have going on with the writers.
And come to think of it, why haven't they tried this before? They didn't need this strike to do it.
Right.
They've seen unions all over their industry. Everybody's unionized, you know, from the people that put together the sets to the people that drive the trucks to get the product to the stage. I mean, yeah, there's unions everywhere in Hollywood. Surprised it's taken this long to really talk about it.
Absolutely.
You know, fucked up. Selena Gomez fucked up. Selena Gomez deletes Only Murders Instagram post after being accused of breaking the SAG-AFTRA strike rules.
Oh.
Yeah. So this one,
She's a scab?
This one I thought was, I don't think she meant to be. This one I thought was interesting because to me, she just doesn't even know the rules. Like, it's complicated. She's a young person. Like, I don't think she's ever been through anything like this. So I think she just made a mistake, posted something on her. And maybe she didn't even post it. She probably had a team do it.
Yeah, and she originally came up as a musician, not even as an actor.
An Instagram post that tagged her Hulu series, Only Murders in the Building, was pulled from Selena Gomez's profile after she was accused by many followers of breaking the SAG-AFTRA strike rules. The post appeared to be a video from the set of the comedy show. Gomez tagged the official Instagram account for Only Murders in the Building in the caption for the video and added, "Missing and wanting." The post generated over 1.1 million likes in 15 hours before it was pulled from Gomez's profile. So that's interesting. Missing and wanting, right? She's missing her friends. She's missing her coworkers. She's wanting to go back to work. But I can see, you know, people going, hey, that looks like you're not on our side. You should be not doing this. You shouldn't even be talking about your program. We are on strike.
I heard anything that they do that promotes a show that's going to benefit the studio is against the strike.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was even her intent with that post, but by tagging the show, maybe, but that seems like a stretch to me. Also, 1.5 million likes in a matter of an hour and a half. Holy shit, she got some followers.
I never know what a social media like is really worth either. Like, that's somebody who saw it probably scrolling half fucking dead like a zombie. Just like, how much of that do you retain?
I don't know.
You know, like when Stern had millions and millions of listeners, you know, she has as many viewers as Stern had at least. And it's hard to believe that they're really listening like, you know, you would listen to Stern. So I always wonder when somebody says I have 1 million followers, I'm like, well, how many are actually engaged and know your name?
I wish CGI can say they had 1 million followers.
Our show?
Yeah.
We're about 10 away.
Fair enough.
All right, let's end with this one. Again, it's all strike news all day long. We're going to have to change the segment of this show to something else if you guys get tired of strike news. Majority of Americans support writers and actors over studio strikes, says this Gallup poll. Which I don't think anybody needed a Gallup poll to know. According to a recent Gallup poll, a whopping 72% of Americans are feeling for the TV and film writers more than the studios during the current strike. Only 19% are siding with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, the bigwigs behind major studios. When it comes to actors, 67% of folks are in their corner, while just 24% are in Team Studio.
In studio.
Team Studio. You know, this is also written by AI, and I'm just, as I'm reading this, I'm kind of like, when did AI start to get a personality? Like, it just said bigwigs. Like, is that I don't know. It seems weird that bigwigs came from AI.
Was it maybe a word in the story and it's just repurposing it?
I don't know. The Writers Guild of America has been on strike since May 2nd. What's the day? September 5th, as of this recording. So May 2nd. And then SAG-AFTRA joined the strike party on July 14th. Even though the two groups and the AMPTP started talking again on August 11th, there hasn't been much progress. The studios did make a counteroffer on August 22nd, but the WGA wasn't impressed, saying it was far from enough. SAG-AFTRA also mentioned that the AMPTP, that's a lot of letters, I'm saying a lot of letters, isn't making the necessary moves to end the strike. So they're all just, it's a giant stalemate. To help with their image, the AMTP has even hired a big-time PR firm from Washington. We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
The Gallup poll chatted with over 1,000 adults from all of the U.S. in August. The results also showed that unions are still getting a lot of love. 67% of those surveyed are pro-union, which is a bit down from 71% last year, but still above the long-term average of 62%. Is 1,000 people really enough to get the sense of America anymore?
I don't know. I mean, if it's like a true cross-section of America and people are actually represented, maybe 1,000's enough of a sample size. But, you know, if you're like, I was going to say, if you're standing in the middle of Times Square and just randomly grabbing people, I don't know if you're going to get a good, true cross-section of America.
I was a little surprised. Yeah, 1,000. Like, we have technology now that you could be able to get tens of thousands. Like, fucking put a pop-up banner on your website, ask everybody who comes. Like, there's better ways to get this information.
It's possible to do it that way, but I think you're still going to get a skewed sample size because who's online, especially on a website, depends what website you're going to put it out there on. I was going to say, you're right. You don't need a Gallup poll to say that most people are siding with the actors and the writers. The actors have the personality. The people that these, you know, those being surveyed are following on Twitter and all that shit are all the celebrities. That's the actors. That's who they're in front of them. You know, the studios are faceless corporations. So
yeah, they've had no voice until now. I mean, the actors and the writers who are really good at doing things like acting and writing are getting all of the attention because they're actors and writers.
No shit. Exactly.
I think this one's going to be huge. Like, I say this to people all the time. I'm like, I think this strike kills Hollywood. Nobody seems to believe that, except some of these articles that I read. And that worries me because I want my stories. Remember when our parents used to watch soap operas?
Soaps.
I gotta go see my stories. I want my stories too. I love a good story. So, and I love Hollywood. I'm a big fan of classic Hollywood. I still read it, study it, go watch it all the time, but it may be coming to an end.
We'll have to write our own stories, Bill. Share them here next week.
Well, the stories will be there. It's just going to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think technology is allowing everybody to be remote now. You don't have to live in LA anymore. And I think even though we've had the internet since, the 90s? Like, it's only now that that's starting to really make a difference. And if you think about it, what we're doing right now is so brand new. We weren't even able to really Zoom until pandemic, which was only a few years ago.
Sure.
Yeah. So technology's been here for a while, but sometimes it takes years for it to just click. And then we go, hey, we could use this in our day to day. And that's what I think is really happening with the generative AI coming out and just easier to collaborate online than it's ever been before. It's the perfect time to strike, try to make some changes.
Yeah.
And then it's a perfect time for them to defend and try to make sure those changes don't kick them out of a job.
And to go back to something I said earlier, I think a lot of this stuff, a lot of this technology that has really ballooned over the past 2, 3, 4 years was all necessary as a way to kind of combat and connect from COVID.
Yeah, totally right. And it would have happened eventually.
Yeah.
Anytime something like this happens, like when it's game changing like this, like the internet was going to happen. Nobody could stop it. This is just evolution. I used the example before, Napster. Music was going to go to MP3s. Nobody was going to stop it. Metallica could have stood up there all they wanted. Don't do it. You can't stop it. People are going to do it. Lars. And they did. And Metallica lost and looked like a chump. So I worry that the performers and the artists who I love them. I don't want them to come off looking stupid because things are changing and they refuse to believe it. I want things to change in their favor. I want them to get the money that they want. I want it to be reasonable. But I also want it to open up for everybody.
Sure.
I want people who aren't just in LA in this union to be able to create stories that can get in front of the masses. So I'm not such a big fan of this walled Hollywood garden. Just not. So I don't know. I'm in the middle.
In the show talking about inventors, necessity is the mother of all invention. So
you got
we'll
it.
see what it brings, man.
Well, there's a need now to stop this fucking problem. And the need is probably going to open up other channels like we keep talking about. I think I told you before, I think more people are going to go to YouTube who hadn't gone to YouTube before and find out how much great content is there. Like, I don't think my father knows how much great content is there, but I know if I go show him right now, or if he goes, nothing's good on TV, I'll try dicking around with this YouTube, I'm sure it'll hook him.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, my wife's father-in-law is watching YouTube on his TV. It's the only thing he knows how to put on that TV outside of ABC, NBC, and CBS, but he figured it out. And I see him on it all the time. And I think that's a matter of time. And if they stop these movies and stop all this stuff the way that we used to see it, it's going to kill the networks.
Sure.
And I think all of Hollywood's going to go, well, we didn't expect any of this. Maybe we shouldn't have been fighting so hard. Maybe we should have been trying to work it out together.
I'll tell you what, Brother Dan, who just departed us here not long ago, he's about the only person I know other than my parents that's watching like network television, like Blue Bloods and, that one that had Meghan Markle in it and shit like that. I couldn't talk about any of those shows with him.
Me neither.
But he still watches them. But yeah, I mean, in a world where there is too much content out there already in, I think, untapped markets such as YouTube, like you're talking about here, I'll tell you, man, we'll keep scouring YouTube and finding the things that entertain us and bring them to you with what you should be watching. So I think there's going to be some more of those episodes coming your way, and the strike's not going away anytime soon. So let's get creative and find different ways to entertain ourselves.
I'll end with this. So I have, a number of employees who are all younger than me. So I'm 48, maybe 45 is the next guy, but then everything goes like 30s and 20s. And we talk about the content on TV, and they're always talking about these amazing shows. Never have they mentioned anything on cable. It's always something on some streaming network. So
yeah,
this is the next generation. They already don't watch regular TV. I can already tell you, I'll put $1 billion on it. Broadcast TV dies with this generation. So if you're alive in 30 years, come pay me, because it's going to be gone. Watch the kids. Watch what the kids like. They're the ones who tell you, and they're so clear. They'd rather watch TikTok. Think I can stop beating this horse and maybe we can close this show?
I'm waiting for you, man. I keep giving you out.
You talk too much.
I know you do it. I keep going right back to my rant. Thanks, everybody.
Keep beating that horse, Bill. Keep beating that dead horse.
Remember we said let's not do a long show today?
Yeah,
we did it again with another long show, an hour and a half.
God damn it.
All right, well, that's my last news item. You have anything you want to add before we shut her down?
No, but the throngs of people that no longer have television to watch, check out a podcast. We're here for you.
We have 40 episodes up.
Yeah, we're well on our way to 50, man.
Keep you busy for at least a week. All right, everybody, until next time.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again.